CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. Welcome back to CMMS Radio, everybody. If you don't see him on screen, I'm here with Drew Troyer, and he's with Bootleg Advisors. That's reliability-driven innovation. He is a founding editorial board member with Reliable Magazine. You'll see some of my posts chiming in on what Reliable does. Great stuff. They've got a strong team that contributes amazing articles that will help you learn. It's not about selling stuff. It's about making a difference in this industry. Today, we're going to talk about the mainstream community. A lot of you might know them. They're out of Australia, but we got something really big coming, and that is the Mainstream UK Summit. That's going to be on 21 October 2025. It actually starts on the 20th. For anybody over on this side of the pond, that's October 20th and 21st, 2025. It's in Birmingham. It's going to be a really incredible event. The venue is outstanding. I just talked to Steve there at Mainstream about why they chose that particular location. It's connected to the birth of what we would call maybe the Industrial Revolution. Very important. And it's all around reimagining maintenance and reliability. It's very focused on maintenance and reliability. So you all can visit mainstreamcommunity.com, find the UK Summit to learn more about it. We all hope to see you there. It's filling up fast, so get on that. Drew Troyer, welcome to CMMS Radio.
Thanks, Greg. It's a privilege to be here. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate you making the time because I already know that people can learn a lot from you, but I want to explore a little bit about why. So before we jump into some of the things you're going to be presenting on at the Mainstream UK Summit, do you mind giving us just a little bit of background on your kind of indoctrination into and how you got into the industry in the first place? You know, what was the spark that kind of kicked off that flame? And then we'll get into a few other things. No rules here. We just want to have a nice conversation.
Sure. So I am in my 36th year in the asset management space, and I entered not intending to come into asset management because it was not really an evolved discipline when I came in late 80s, early 90s, sort of right out of school. And I got started primarily in the U.S. power generation industry, which was going through a transformation when what I'll call modern day condition monitoring technologies became available starting in the late 80s. They were kind of leading the charge, in particular the fossil plants, the coal-fired power plants in the U.S., companies that they've changed names a lot. Some of them are still there, but Southern companies and Pacific Gas Electric and Texas Utilities and what was in Houston Lighting and Power, a whole bunch of utilities were really looking at adopting condition monitoring. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of that. And, prior to the late 80s, we really couldn't do condition-based maintenance because this is going to sound strange. The microprocessor technology didn't allow for, walk around vibration analysis and devices and things of that nature. So I was a part of it, and so I wasn't leading at that time. I was a newbie, but it made me very excited. So, and at one point, people started calling us reliability engineers. We didn't really know what that was. So I chose to go back to do a little bit more graduate education on reliability engineering, so that I actually knew, and then became certified as a reliability engineer in the early 90s. And I've been at it ever since, Greg. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got into it. Then, of course, the discipline extended, and when you have condition-based maintenance, you have demand for the dynamic management of work. So the manner in which we manage maintenance work changed quite dramatically. There were no CMMS systems back in the late 80s. You did your maintenance. We had file cabinets. This is the stuff you're going to do once a year. This is the stuff you're going to do every 4 years. So everything, dynamically changed. And then, of course, we started adopting other tools, reliability-centered maintenance and root cause analysis, and a whole host of other tools. But I got excited about it, and lo and behold, 36 years later, I'm still doing it.
And still excited about it.
I am actually still excited about it. I'm not really happy about the reason that I'm excited about it. I'll share a personal story. In about 1995, when I, really put some time into becoming, a proper professional reliability engineer, with all of the trappings and qualifications, I'm thinking, of course I was young at the time, but I'm thinking, this stuff makes so much sense. Everyone's going to adopt it in 5 years, and I'm going to have to figure out a new gig, right? So everyone's going to adopt it, and I'm going to have to move on to something else. And I actually did think about, is it smart for me to commit this much time to learning all of this for something in 5 years is going to be gone? Of course, turn the clock up 30 years, and something, we still have a lot of work to do, Greg. I mean, a lot of work. And I'm just coming off of, over time, I transitioned into executive roles. So I held some executive roles really in the mining industry, executive head of asset management roles. And, I made some observation. For instance, we still, as an example, plan a lot of our maintenance work from scratch, as though we've never seen that problem before. So we're failing to leverage the repeatable nature of maintenance work. A very, very high percentage across industries of maintenance work that should be done to standard plans, right?
Do you know why that is? Because I think, I'm not a maintenance and reliability professional, right? I don't have a CMRP. I know a lot of people, and I'm in different parts of it, but I'm not only fascinated by it, but what I keep wondering about, and I don't know that it's going to change, but the messaging, where we really need to start when we're dealing with, maintenance environments where we want to introduce reliability, create more availability. The story seems to be the same. And I always wonder, have people developed a way of ignoring those messages, or is it something around, it's just so hard to take those moments? They could be weeks, they could be months, but those moments to actually get that part of it right, your foundational understanding of why we're doing what we're doing, putting together the culture, it's both fascinating and frustrating all at the same time. So what do you think it is? What have you seen? What do you see now? What have you seen then that just creates this same unrepeatable process that we know is actually repeatable?
Well, I'm going to, and I don't want to, make this a pitch, but I'm gonna tell you what I'm currently doing within the context of your question. Your question's a very good one, and one of the keynote, I think it's the keynote that I'm delivering at the Mainstream Conference in Birmingham, England, is asset management or plant reliability in dollars and cents, and that's a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. I actually have a workshop on it, but it's one of those things that usually in a couple hours you can get the gist of it. And let me tell you the essence of what that is all about. I believe that asset management has been viewed as a synonym for maintenance. And I think and I've been at the upper echelon of very, very large corporations in executive roles. I think that there's a mindset in the walnut offices of our companies, where the C-level people reside. There's still a view of maintenance as a cost center, as opposed to viewing asset management as a value center. So, for instance, I'm just out of the mining industry. I mean, just recently, I'm 62, so I want to do some other things that are fun for me, like creating content and things of that nature. And to me, mining is very simple. If you create a Venn diagram, there's three elements that determine value in mining. And think of these as three circles. All right. One is the market and the demand for materials. That's something that we have no control over, none in the mining industry. So mining, like many other industries, is a commodity industry. We are price takers. And in fact, if you try to manipulate price, that kind of gets us into trouble. People go to jail for that kind of monkey business.
Yeah.
The second second element is the geology. And if you don't have good geology, you're not going to have a mine anyway. So boom, there it is. Now, there are certain aspects in terms of how you manage that geology. Are you digging to create kind of long-term good ore? Are you just taking all of your great ore and making this quarter look very good? So there's ways in which that geology needs to be managed. The third, though, is the performance of our assets in extracting the ore, hauling the ore, crushing the ore, processing the ore, and then shipping the ore if that's within the scope of our operation. That is the most highly controllable element. But if we view asset management as just something that shows up on the cost center, we never take a long-term approach. And as a byproduct of that, we don't put the effort and the talent behind creating this standardization. There's actually nothing that is more standardizable than maintenance, because we do have the same failures again and again and again. When I teach dollars and cents, I ask people, what's the likelihood, if it's offsite, what's the likelihood at your plant? So let's say a public class. Mm-hmm. What's the likelihood that you'll have a failure today? And they all say 100%. There will be a failure. Then I ask, what's the likelihood of that being a failure you've never experienced before? And they say extremely remote, which is true. We have the same problems again and again and again. So it's highly standardizable. Since leaving executive roles, that's been a point of frustration for me, the lack of standardization. I've been very busy creating these standard job plans for routine equipment that we see in the mining industry, in the petrochemical industry. And, honestly, once you put your mind to it, it's not that hard. It does take a bit of customization in the execution, but it just is not that hard. We just got to make a commitment to get it done. I think that there's another element that I want to speak to. We don't position asset management within our corporations as a destination job. Does that make sense to you?
I think so, in that that's that lack of sexiness that people kind of complain about, and it's because they haven't been able to connect the dots. It doesn't move fast enough. It doesn't show up. You don't see it on all the places where we're consuming the nonsense content where sexy shows up. And The reality is, for me, when you get around people that are in asset management, maintenance and reliability, and all the things that kind of play around that are a critical component of it, potentialities that you can leverage in, like lubrication and all the other things, right? The great things are they're super cool because they make such an impact. Those people know that they're sexy, but
exactly.
The CFO doesn't see the sexy. The CFO doesn't see anything but the balance sheet, partially because that's their job, but also there's an issue there that I keep circling around, and I don't want to beat CFOs up and say, "Oh, you guys are the anti what we want to do. You're the anti-sexy of what we're trying to do." But there's something causing that. So yes, I think I understand it to mean it's not.
So, in our big corporations, we tend to go out and we like to hire, sort of the best and brightest young talent. So we go to top universities. It happens everywhere in the world, not just the U.S., not just UK, happens in Australia, everywhere else. We go recruiting, the very best talent. They come into the organization. So a real typical indoctrination for, say, a young engineer would be to spend 3 months in this job, 3 months in this job, 3 months in this job, 3 months in this job. And if those talented people land in an asset management job, say as a reliability engineer, something like that, I think that the culture that either we in the industry will have failed to create, or we fail to make it sexy enough that it's a job that the really talented people are looking forward to leaving, so that they can move on to bigger and better things. And, you know, no matter what's happening with AI and technology and all that kind of jazz, we need our very best people doing the very important jobs.
Mm-hmm.
To me, if you're in the mining industry or in the petrochemical industry or pulp and paper, steel, primary metals, cement, manufacturing, automotive, whatever the case may be, we are dependent upon those assets for all of our value drivers. So to me, we have 5 value drivers within any asset dependent organization. There's profit, there's customer satisfaction, there's safety, it's environmental performance, and protection of our reputation. And we are entirely dependent upon the asset to deliver all of those. And if you don't think your reputation, this is not intended to be negative, but if you don't think protecting your reputation is, from an asset management perspective, is important, just take a look at British Petroleum and talk to anyone from British Petroleum, Deepwater Horizon, Prudhoe Bay, Texas City, all kind of happen too close together. And you will see that, and they're not the only one, where poor asset management has led to catastrophic results. Now, for most of our customers, it's not the catastrophic impact, it's the death by 1,000 cuts. Little cost leakage here, little high injury rate here, little bit of excessive environmental emissions here. It's death by 1,000 cuts. But, you've used the term sexy, and that's probably a good term. For very talented people, we haven't set the stage for asset management to be a destination career for those young people.
This is all the way you're putting it, the words that you're using, the things that you've tied it to, and then, bringing up BP. The whole time I'm going, well, I mean, it's there. It's there. It's just people don't see it. They refuse to see it. There's something that's missing. We see this in other aspects of the world that might have nothing to do with maintenance, asset management, reliability. But I'm always out here kind of looking around, hearing stories, seeing things, and I can very quickly connect it. And it's, why is there so much resistance? I mean, when you bring up the example of BP, we've got movies, we've got the sexy. But
when Hollywood chooses to make a movie about your asset management practices and it doesn't cast you in a positive light, it's time to really think, how important is asset management to us? We really need to be thinking about this. And that keynote really kind of does go after, how does asset management, drive your EBITDA, your profit? How does it impact your safety? How does it impact your environmental performance? How does it impact your reputation with customers? And how does it impact just, protecting the good name of your corporation? That is the whole essence. And I don't know if it's intended to make asset management appear sexy, although I should probably, maybe I'm not the best person to deliver that kind of message, but I think what I try to accomplish is presenting asset management as a value center, not just as a cost center.
That's the rub right there. That I think all of us, even someone like me that's not that, right? Like I'm not you. I don't have those wares when it comes to what you've done, where you've been, the things you've studied, the things you've implemented, the things you've been able to prove out, being able to build out a comprehensive program like this that's intended to actually connect it to what's behind the balance sheet.
Yeah.
And I think like I get excited about it because we know what we're trying to do, but the critical importance of this, and these are for us buzzwords, it can't possibly be lost on everyone. I think it's an intentional, there's something about it that they don't see or value, but we can show them everywhere. When the CFO or other people that want this, and we should agree, I suspect, that when you're doing asset management properly, it's going to be quiet. It's going to be boring. There's not going to be a lot of heroes.
That's
But
right.
when the people that take that for granted, and I mean that in not such a negative way, but more so, human beings have a tendency to take things for granted that don't constantly, knock on their soul, knock on their brain. But when you leave the office and you go out to the parking lot, you're getting into your car.
Yeah.
You're driving home. You have to get to your kid's ball game. You have to get to your wife's meeting or some other, maybe there's an emergency. Well, that right there, we can tie every single bit of that event in someone's daily life. We can tie it all back to asset management, including the asset and assets that are working together to get you where you're going. If they don't meet your need, you're going to have serious problems. And this is not the, hey, if you don't change the oil in your car on schedule, that asset's going to fail and you're on the side of the highway. This is more of a play on, this is literally everywhere, right? This hat that I'm wearing had to be made. The microphone that I'm using had to be produced, and it had to be done in such a way that it's a good quality product with no disruption to what I'm trying to do. On and on like this. It's everywhere. But I think everybody takes it for granted because they don't understand the importance until the failure occurs.
Right.
And that gets back to the plant floor. That gets back to the land subdivisions, the mining environments, the full-blown oil rigs, all of it. And I think we could just go for hours and hours on this. And I'm glad that you kind of framed this up around the plant reliability in dollars and cents. Think of the S in the word cents, folks, with a dollar sign, because it's really meant to be that impactful, that elucidating, right? You're shining a light upon it so that people can start to see that. And we have to keep talking about it and doing things like this, not just because of the mainstream UK summit, but because of this industry as a whole that has a literal global impact. I think there's also opportunity that people are constantly missing when it comes to the bigger picture of how we move as a world economy. This is all directly tied to it. You can always go back to the asset management. There's no two ways about it. It's undeniable. Undeniable.
No, it's our entire society is dependent upon physical assets, and it may not get all the press that things like artificial intelligence gets. It's not very sexy, but something, every time you get on an airplane, you're depending upon an asset on many levels, and when those assets fail, you get a lot of media attention for that. We've seen that. And when I say the assets, it's not just from a maintenance perspective. It's the assets design is faulty. Somehow, maintaining that asset's important, but also how we operate the asset. So it's all very very important. And the dollars and cents is something that I've been playing around with really for nearly 20 years. But I'm now in a position, having had those executive roles, I'm hoping I'll just say in my twilight years of working, that I can have an impact. And I've elected to pursue some activities that I hope will allow that to happen. I'm trying to create some tools that I think have been missing. Myself personally, I'm doing fractional executive posts. This is not everyone needs a person with my level of experience and expertise as a full-time person, but they made it a few hours a week or a month to help guide and help make that value proposition, and help make sure that the ship is moving in the right direction. And shortest distance between two lines is a straight line. Pardon me, between 2 points is a straight line. So we want a Hoshin plan, a Toyota term, so that we're following that straight line, not zigging and zagging and backtracking. But it, again, really does kind of come down to communicating effectively to the executives in the organization, all the way down to the frontline people. What's in it for you? The WIFMs, what's in it for me? Everyone needs to understand it, and everyone within the organization has to have that aha moment. Yeah, everything that we do is dependent upon the performance of those assets. My own personal safety is dependent upon the performance of those assets. Every aspect of what we're trying to achieve as an entity is dependent upon the assets. I'm not saying it's the only thing that's important within an organization, but it certainly is right up there. And it has not, in my opinion, writ large, asset management has not gotten its appropriate seat at the big table.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of folks that will not only agree with that, but also have some of the same, on one hand, frustrations, but on the other hand, what I think is even more important about this, and this is maybe not sexy, but I think it's cool, if I'm allowed to use such a word. There's a lot of intent behind trying to change that, and trying to change that in one specific environment at their plant, in their organization. And then we also run this risk that we start to see some effective change in that regard, and then somebody leaves or something else happens, God forbid, and then we tend to have to start all over. So the idea of what you said in the very beginning, that we want this to become highly repeatable, not rote, but highly repeatable. We know how to say, this is the plan that was working. We have evidence of that. And anybody that comes in because somebody left for one reason or another, we know that, hey, this is a critical component of our playbook, and there's intention behind it. That's very exciting for me when I see, feel, and understand that intent. Could we switch it over to the execution portion? Because at Mainstream UK Summit, there's also the proactive and precision maintenance. I think we could call it a session that you're going to do. Is this a good time to switch over to that?
Yeah, it is a good time. I do want to make just sort of one comment on that last element, because it applies actually to both. Too often we have these initiatives that are dependent upon the passion and aspirational momentum of one or two people. And it kind of comes back to, what I said previously, that very talented person often gets snatched into another job, either to another company, or even another job within his or her corporation to do something else. And then the light goes off and we lose the value. So sustainability is making this systemic and repeatable. Now switching to the proactive and precision maintenance, I'm a little bit of an asset management schizophrenic, in that on the one hand, I talk about how asset management, drives our balance sheet and our income statement, and I have that CFO kind of conversation. On the other hand, I would say I'm probably most known for proactive and precision maintenance with a focus on what I call FLAB. And FLAB is Fasteners, it's an acronym, Fasteners, Lubrication, Alignment, and Balance. So it's lean, proactive, and precision maintenance with a focus on FLAB. FLAB, kind of a play on words, is the opposite of lean, right? So, but it's the mechanical and electrical aspects of fasteners. and lubrication and alignment and balance. So it really is very much the nuts and bolts. Now, I mentioned to you that it's amazing to me how often we just plan the same job from scratch as though we've never seen it before. It's also frustrating to me when I look at job plans that go out. So a planner will send out a job plan, replace pump. That's not a job plan. That's a hope, and hope is not an effective strategy. Hope is not an effective strategy. The other thing that is very important is that we send out a job plan that has all of the key elements. It has our job risks. Those are predictable. It has the heart of a job plan, which is the task list, has the bill of materials, pre-work, tools required, so on and so forth. But in that task list, it's necessary to provide the precision details. So, for instance, most of our machines are bolted down, right?
Right.
Okay. And we have nuts and bolts of different sizes, right, that we use to bolt those down. I teach this course, and I can't sit here and tell you from top of my mind how much torque to apply to an M24 sized grade 10.9 bolt. I can't tell you that. Why? These are things I don't commit to memory. I refer to my reference material. But shouldn't a job plan have a task list that contains those details?
Absolutely.
If I have alignment tolerances, shouldn't those tolerances, how much soft foot gap is allowable? To what spec do I need to field balance this air handling unit, the fan? If I'm doing an alignment, what's my allowable offset? What's my allowable angularity? Shouldn't these details just be right there for the tradesperson? And I'm going to just share something philosophically, and you'll probably sense a combination of frustration and anger. But when I was, global head of asset management in the mining industry, I felt it was my responsibility to protect the time and enable that frontline tradesperson that's doing that maintenance work. That is my number one job. If I'm not doing my job, if I'm not enabling that individual, then I'm not doing my job. Because you see, if I don't do my job as a corporate global head of asset management, and then my principals don't do their job, and then the site maintenance managers and reliability engineers don't do their job, and then the planners and the schedulers and the resource coordinators don't do their job, and the job plan goes out in a shoddy condition, what happens is I can kick the can down the road. My principals can kick the can down the road. That maintenance manager and plant manager can kick the can down the road. The reliability engineer can kick it down the road. The planner can kick it down the road. The resource coordinator and scheduler can kick it down the road. But once it hits that maintenance supervisor's inbox, that problem's got no place else to go. And when you have bad plans, lack of plans or lack of detail in the plans, being a maintenance supervisor is, in my opinion, the worst job on the face of the earth. Because you go do a die load, day in the life of, and look at what that supervisor is doing. He or she is chasing parts. He or she is trying to get permits. He or she is providing job instructions that should be in the task list on the fly. He or she is hunting for tools. He or she is actually jumping on the tools and doing the work, all right, just to get something back up and running. He or she is doing everything but supervise. And the reason is we have set that maintenance supervisor up for failure, and we have made the job of an electrical or mechanical tradesperson unproductive. And what really troubles me, we've made that job unsafe. So there's a bit of combination of passion, frustration, and anger in what I just said, but we are shirking our responsibility when we fail to do that. That is the essence of what precision and proactive maintenance with a focus on mechanical and electrical aspects of FLAB. It sounds mechanical, and I will say I'm more of a mechanical guy, but honestly, 50% of our electrical problems are fastener problems. Cable to connector, connector to lug, bus bars, whatever it is. It's something that's in the circuit that's at a fastening point that allows that current to flow at whatever voltage to create whatever wattage. So we are being disrespectful to our tradespeople and our maintenance supervisors, our frontline people, the people we are there to serve. Because I may be higher on the organizational chart, but you know what value I create, direct value I create as a global head of asset management? Zilch, unless I enable that individual to work productively, with high quality, and safely.
Absolutely. Drew, this stands all on its own. And I am seeing and kind of imagining, hearing some of my close friends of industry, people that I would refer to as, of the highest integrity, the ones that actually get it, right? And like, for example, and I'm just going to mention their names because it's very important. Brian Bieski, dear friend of mine, he will tell you straight and away, if you're not doing what you just said, you're being jacked up. He would say, don't be jacked up as a leader. Howard Penrose would appreciate everything that you've said as it relates to
Howard's a good friend of mine.
Really connected to what he's passionate about. Matt Knuth, he would appreciate every single thing that you said, because this is the kind of message and the kind of way we want to be paladins of the industry, but we want people to get the message as to what you're actually supposed to do as a leader. Just take away all the other stuff, a leader's job. And I get all fired up about it because when you see it, you know it. When you hear it, you know it. But you also very easily recognize when that's not happening. So don't be jacked up means don't not do the things that Drew just talked about, because you just laid down exactly what it means to be a leader in maintenance and reliability, and let's say it the way you would say it, asset management. You're talking about team enablement, but not this bullshit that we typically see where people want to say it. Yeah, I can do that. Everybody's welcome to fire me. You don't have to say what I say, but I get all fired up about it because when someone says it and it's correct and that's the actual thing, this is what you do, folks, if you want to create these environments that have a culture of excellence, that have a very, very high level of safety. People get to go home to their families at the end of the day because you're not skipping things. You don't have people that are kicking that can down the line or down the road, because not only are you setting the example, you're being highly intentional about what it is. And I just don't know why it's so hard unless those people in those positions don't actually give a shit about what matters. And it's these simple basics that will actually save the day every single day. It's not technology. It's not AI. You can get that out of here unless you're talking about actual intelligence. Shout out again to Matt Knuth, because he and I talk about that all the time. This is what we would call good stuff, because that's the message that everybody needs to hear. And if it's the same message over and over again, we're sorry, but we're not sorry. What we're sorry about is that you're not receiving it and you're not doing it. And on day one, when you come into your new leadership role, you're not doing an assessment. You're sitting behind your desk, and that ain't it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to get in on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I stand on the shoulders of a lot of people who took the time and put forth the energy to invest in me as an individual. And there's so many of them. It's too many to name. But one dear friend, Ron Moore, author of Making Common Sense Common Practice, to your audience, if you've not read Ron's book, I would encourage you to read it. But something that's what it's really about. Everything I said is common sense. Another name that I want to point out that a very dear friend of mine, he will be traveling with me to Birmingham, is an individual by the name of Ed Welch. And Ed Welch was a retired SVP for engineering and maintenance for Toyota North America. Now, let me put this in perspective. He was employee number 8 in North America when Toyota opened its Georgetown facility. So every Toyota person knows their badge number, and he was number 8, and he rose to building all the other plants, San Antonio, Tupelo, Mississippi, so on and so forth. And many years ago, I was a consultant for very technical engineering stuff, really related to lubrication, because I was co-founder of Nori Corporation, and that's part of my history. So I've got a lot of background in lubrication and hydraulic fluids. So I was a consultant to him, and I hope that Toyota got something out of me. But what I learned working with Toyota directly, it's different to read about Toyota and then to work deeply with Toyota in terms of what you learn. And I'm still very connected to Toyota and the True Lean Center at the University of Kentucky, Toyota Perspectin in South Africa. So, and as well as the team here. And in any time so I brought him into mining companies. I bring Ed in to help people understand the philosophy of what is the lean TPS system. And he saw our failure to do what I just described to you, which is enable that frontline worker. And Ed is a very Zen person. He's an amazing friend, and he just continues to coach me even now. Continues to in his very gentle way. I highly endorse him to anybody that really wants to know what Lean TPS is all about. He looked at what we were doing at one of my mining companies, and he said, "Drew, what you're doing is disrespectful. It's disrespectful as a leader to not enable those frontline people." And that just hit me like a load of bricks. But you have to understand that Toyota, and nobody personifies it better than my friend Ed Welch, servant leadership. We need to understand servant leadership. Well, on an organizational chart, when I was global head of asset management, I may have been at the top of the asset management pyramid, but my job is to turn that pyramid upside down. I'm at the bottom. And if I'm not making that front line, if I'm not making them the top priority, honestly, if we're not enabling that frontline worker, if you're a reliability engineer, you're a planner, you're a scheduler, you're a resource coordinator, you're a corporate principal, any of those roles, candidly, don't matter if we're not enabling that frontline worker.
We're closing on this because people need to digest this. That's the only reason, because I feel like you and we're going to be doing a lot more of this. If you didn't know, it's not just about the alignment. It's about when I hear what people need to hear, because I couldn't possibly say it like that. But again, I want to be the guy that steps up and takes the shots, because I'm the host, right? So I can say whatever the hell I want, and it doesn't really matter, right? Because I'm not dependent on anything other than telling the truth and showcasing it. So if there's swearing needed, I'll do that. But
well, I will tell you, Greg, that first off, in addition to standing on the shoulders of a lot of really brilliant people who've invested heavily in me, I have learned the 1,000 ways not to say it. So hopefully I'm failing forward here a little bit. Yeah. But I would be happy to come back and delve into, really any topic. I'm enjoying this time in my career where I can, guide as a fractional executive. I can guide companies and young talent to help bring them up and maybe be the shoulders that they stand on. So we build a pyramid of shoulders. I'm also really excited about, developing new ideas and new content, like, the standard job plans. Another thing I'm really working on right now, and it's a presentation I'm giving at the Mainstream event in Melbourne this month.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Data to Dollars. And if you don't mind me just speaking briefly on this, because I will be delivering this in Melbourne. It's a masterclass, a big topic. We have, in the digital age, reached the point where we are data rich, but we're information poor. All right? And if you think about creating value, and I told you there's 5 value drivers. There's profit, there's customer satisfaction, there's safety, environmental performance, and protection of reputation. That is dependent upon taking the right actions. Taking the right actions is dependent upon making the right decisions. And making the right decisions is dependent upon having true actionable insights. Well, actionable insights is dependent upon having meaningful information with which to drive the insights, and that meaningful information is dependent upon having high quality data to dollars. So I worked it backwards from the desired outcome, begin with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our organizations have tons of data, but I will tell you as an executive, if I ask a question, I just can't get the answer. We've got so much data, but we can't get the answer. And I'm not the only one asking these questions. To questions as simple as, in the mining industry, how many haul trucks do we own? You'd think that'd be pretty easy.
You would think.
System-wide, not always so easy, I can tell you from experience. So we've got to get this value stream, and that's what it is, a value stream of data to dollars. And I'm calling it dollars, but it really data to value, whatever that value driver is. Could be safety, it could be environmental performance, whichever dashboard goal you're trying to drive. And generally we drive multiple dashboard goals. We're tends to be a correlation. If we're more profitable because of asset performance, we also tend to be safer. That's well known. Ron Moore, Klaus Blausch at the University of Tennessee, formerly GM, they've both explored that in detail. Klaus loves speaking on that. I don't know if he's been one of your guests, but he loves speaking on the importance of asset management to safety. But we've got to make that value stream much more robust. And I'm calling that data to dollars. So it's a masterclass that I'm giving at the Eventful Group, the Mainstream Communities event in Melbourne this month, the week of the 27th of July.
Yep, I've got it right here. So as I'd mentioned earlier, if you want to check out the Mainstream UK Summit and get yourself there, you can find that at mainstreamcommunity.com. It's easy to find, upper kind of middle of the screen. But for Melbourne, that is the 28th and 29th of July, 2025. That's at Centerpiece at Melbourne Park. And again, a reminder, they're reimagining asset management. Drew's going to be there to make that workshop. That's not just a presentation, but that's a full-blown workshop. I want to shout out another friend, Sonia Mathura. She's going to be there.
Sonia's going to be there.
Spend some time with Sonia and hang out with her. And for UK Summit, we'll probably do this. Happy to have Klaus on. Would love that. That would be amazing for everyone to learn from him, because I'm out here just I want to reach one person at a time. I don't need like 1 million followers and all that. I'll take it, but I'm looking for one person at a time, making an impact one place at a time. And I think we've done not just that, but we're going to spend some time when we're in Birmingham getting a few more sound bites, clips, if you will. I want to talk to some people that get the honor of listening to you explain these things and try to try to get them in that kind of right way of moving forward. Drew Troyer, this has been brilliant for me. How would you like people to find you to start their own conversation? Should they just go to LinkedIn, or is there another method?
Yeah. They're welcome to contact me at LinkedIn. And a topic of great passion to me is it's another Toyota initiative is what's called FAME. And, put a pin in that. I'd like to talk about that. I'm interviewing as a keynote address, a fireside chat. I'm interviewing an individual from Toyota on the FAME program at Melbourne. But it would be a great topic. I can bring a team together to talk about this, transforming how we educate maintenance workers in the U.S. And it's something that Toyota has driven. So Dennis Parker is the guy I'm interviewing. So just brilliant, passionate individual. So yeah, just have your listeners reach out to me on LinkedIn. I follow it. They can reach me. I'm an editor at Reliable magazine, so
Yep.
they can reach me through Reliable magazine. So, but LinkedIn is probably the easiest. To be happy to hear from them. So, and
Awesome.
so I'm excited about both conferences. And just to note, I'm kind of a conference veteran, including having created some conferences when I was at Noria. I've been affiliated now with the mainstream community. This is my 26th year being affiliated with Steve and with the whole team at Mainstream. And I can say unequivocally, it is really the best run conference. They really curate the content based upon, deep research into what are the hot button issues among, people in industry. And they're also, it's just a lot of fun. And you're going to learn a massive amount. They take care of everybody. It's just really a great event. I was at the Perth, Australia event last year, excited about the Melbourne and Birmingham events this year.
Yeah, I almost went to Sydney. The timing was off.
Mm-hmm.
Almost went to Sydney, which was that might have been last year.
A couple of years ago, actually, in Sydney.
Yeah. I think there's one more thing. I've got to put you through what's called the fun question segment. Everybody has to suffer through that on CMMS Radio. You cool if we do that right now and knock that out?
I'm a get along guy.
All right, cool. There's no tricks on this. This is no wrong answers. It's just a lot of fun. Before we get into that, I just want to remind everyone, I talked to Steve at length about what went into why Mainstream UK Summit is happening and all that research. And it's really true, folks. You'll hear all about it. We'll get another episode going for that with Steve. But fun question time. So first fun question for you, Drew, is what is your favorite music?
Oh, I'm a blues guy. Yeah, American blues for sure.
All right. That's
Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf. Yeah.
Nice. I've got some friends that are going
to, which is in that mix. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I got some friends that are going to love hearing about that. Fun question number 2. What is your favorite sport or hobby? And on sport, it does not have to be one that you play. It can be one you like to root for, cheer for, and support. Yeah.
So on as a spectator, my favorite sport is college football. NFL is great, but I really love watching college football. From a hobby perspective, scuba diving. So we spend a month in Cozumel every year. I work from there, but unfortunately, it's impossible to pull away for a complete month. But I get a lot of scuba diving in that time. So yeah.
All right, here's the big one, and it relates to what you just said. When it comes to work and places we go and being with our families and all this different stuff, watching our sports, going to support, whatever college team. What is your, no wrong answers here, what is your philosophy, perspective, opinion, anything at all when it comes to this concept of work-life balance?
Wrong person to ask. I have and unfortunately, it's because I am very passionate about what we do. I do tend to work a lot, but it doesn't feel like work to me. I'm 62 years old. I've been doing this for 36 years, and I feel probably more passionate today than I felt about this in 1995. I just think we're on the precipice of greatness, and I can see it. It's I don't know everything about asset management, but I know enough that I can see that golden ring. It just seems to be out of reach. So I'm very energized to give it that last push, to grab that golden ring. Not just me, but for us collectively to get across the line, to get to the point that what we're doing, and it's not for ego purposes, it's for common sense purposes. I mean, Ron Moore saw it. This is common sense. It's just not common practice. Fulfilling that destiny, that transitioning from common sense to common practice. So I do struggle a little bit with that work-life balance. I do hear that from the family from time to time as
Sure.
as that happens. But so I don't think I'm very good at reporting that. But that being said, I try to counter that with a month in Cozumel each year. So that's something that we do.
That works, and that's all that matters. That's why I say there's no wrong answers on stuff like this. It's there to inspire. And a lot of what I'm hearing, I don't know if I can mix this in the title, but I'm gonna people are gonna hear this. I just keep hearing the word legacy and in my mind, and I think we're gonna leave it on that. And once again, Drew Troyer, thank you very much for being here with me on CMMS Radio.
Yeah, Greg, thanks a lot for having me, and looking forward to next time. Cheers.
Cheers. Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.